and welcome to another movie reviews video. Apologies that there was no movie reviews video last week, but I basically just didn't have time to go to the cinema last week. It's been a busy couple of weeks to be fair, but I will now be resuming my morning movie theatre visits, so I will have more to talk about next week. I'm also going to see a movie next week that I will have a book versus movie video for you, so that's something to look forward to. As always, my movie reviews are spoiler free. I will leave timestamps in the description box below if there is a particular movie you want to hear my thoughts on. I will also leave my most recent movie reviews video linked up here in case there is something in there that you are considering going seeing at the theatres. And I recently made another book versus movie video, so I will leave that linked up here at some point for you as well. The first film I saw in cinemas this week is not a new release, but something that was showing in the movie theatres, and I was like, I've always wanted to see this, let's go and see it. And that was The Wicker Man, the Edward Woodward version, not the Nicolas Cage version. I believe it is somewhat of a cult classic, and I've heard Mark Kermode, lovely film critic Mark Kermode, who writes amazing books, by the way, you should definitely check out his books, talk about it a lot. He talks about it with like high esteem, and so we'd always wanted to go and see it. It was definitely, I can see why it is a cult classic, because it's definitely a strange film. It's set on a Scottish island, and it's a bit like if you watched League of Gentlemen. It's like that whole local town for local people type thing, and then this police inspector comes along to look into the crime of this missing girl. There is a lot of nudity in it, there is a certain amount of violence in it, and there are a lot of dodgy Scottish accents in it. I later found out that one of the characters was actually dubbed, and even though they were dubbed, they still had such a terrible accent. But overall, it kept me really gripped. It's an hour and a half long, and we went to see it in a dine-in cinema, and it was still a really, really like, oh, you know, I'm looking at the screen. It kept me gripped. I didn't know how it was going to end because I've managed not to hear too many details about it, even though it was made in 1973. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, so if you haven't seen that one, I definitely recommend it. Then the next film I saw in cinemas was Blinded by the Light, which is the film following a boy from Luton who discovers Bruce Springsteen, and it basically kind of changes his life in unexpected ways. This is based on a true story, and the writer of the film wrote a book based on his experiences growing up in Luton and then discovering Bruce Springsteen and growing up in a Pakistani family and what that meant to him and what being the only boy in the family meant as well. And we get to see it all play out on the big screen. I only found out that it was actually a book because I went to a fan event, so they had the writer and the director talking about this film, and I didn't realize it was a book until that point. And so I am considering doing a book versus movie on this one, reading the book after watching the film, which, you know, I don't often do it that way round. So do let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in hearing. Obviously, because it's a memoir, it is probably going to have stuck quite closely to the book. But it was a really good watch. I really enjoyed it. I'm not massively into Bruce Springsteen. Of course, I know who he is, and I know his story and the fact that his lyrics are held in high regard. And I enjoyed the music in the film. Rob Brydon is in this film, and he is just fabulous as a kind of secondary character. He's the one that you kind of get excited when he comes on the screen, and he is a massive Bruce Springsteen fan as well, and so I think he probably enjoyed working on this project. This is also a female directed film, so if you're looking to expand your horizons into watching more female directors, this is definitely one for you. You definitely don't have to be a massive Springsteen fan to enjoy it. I really enjoyed a lot of the British humour in there, but obviously the audience that I was watching it with were all American and they were laughing along as well, so I am considering going and seeing this one again because I enjoyed it so much. Then, complete change of direction. The next film I went to see in cinemas was Dora and the Lost City of Gold. I have never watched Dora the Explorer. It is a Nickelodeon kids cartoon designed for younger children, but I ended up going and taking the children that I look after to see this, and it was actually quite funny. I was expecting a bit of, I don't know, I had very low expectations going in, but actually the film doesn't take itself too seriously. There is a bit of satire in this film. There are some quite big actors in this film as well. And actually, yeah, there was some real funny moments. They've done a good job of appealing not only to the children who were Dora fans, but also to the parents who are having to take their children to go and see this film. It's one of those where they really have thought about both audiences. And yeah, it was better than I expected. It obviously had quite a big budget because there was whole scenes in the jungle and special effects and everything, as well as, yeah, some quite big names in there. And so, yeah, maybe I don't recommend going to see it in the cinemas, but definitely worth a watch. Previous two films, if you get a chance to see them in the cinemas, definitely. This one, definitely worth a watch at some point. But if you're taking your kids to go and see it and you're worried about being bored for, you know, an hour and 40 minutes, don't be. There is stuff for you in there as well, don't worry. Then the next one I saw in cinemas was one that came out this spring, but the Alamo Drafthouse have a series of female directed films every Wednesday at one of their locations here in Denver, and so we went to see this one because I missed it when it was out in the spring. I think it was possibly when I was back in the UK and it wasn't playing there at all, and that is Little Woods, not Little Woods, but Little Woods, and it follows two sisters, both of whom are British actresses playing American characters, and their accents were actually pretty good. Normally I find flaws in their accents, but actually this time it was pretty good. So it was Lily James, Tessa Thompson, who has an awful American accent in Men in Black, and a pretty good one in this film, and they are struggling to keep afloat. Lily James has a young child. Tessa Thompson is her sister and their mother has passed away, and so she's trying to keep hold of their family home, but really struggling. She's on probation because she was caught smuggling drugs across the Canadian border. And when we say drugs, we mean like pharmaceuticals, like not illegal drugs, the kind that you go to Canada to get with your free healthcare. Because obviously healthcare is very expensive in this country, and it follows their story. It's quite a dark film, it's quite bleak, it doesn't leave you feeling hopeful, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and I'd been wanting to see it since I'd seen the trailers. I saw a lot of trailers for this film, and then it had such a short run. I don't know whether it wasn't well received or it just didn't have the budget, I don't know, but yeah, if you're looking for something a bit more gritty and with a bit of depth to it, again, female directed, then you should be able to find this one on streaming somewhere since it came out in spring. Then another kind of change of direction again. I've got quite a variety of films this week. I went to see Good Boys, which came out on Friday. I saw it on Thursday night, and this is written and directed, or just directed, by Seth Rogen, and it's basically being billed as kind of Superbad but with middle schoolers rather than teenagers, and it was just funny. It's got, you know, a lot of swearing, a lot of kind of, yeah, fart jokes, yeah, like sex humor in there. It was a little bit alarming watching the boys who were starring in it the content that they talk about and the words that they use, the language that they use, you know, from a teacher's perspective, it was a bit like, oh, this is quite shocking. They obviously, you know, did it all above board. It's made into a film, so they obviously know what they're doing with that. It was just really funny, and the film is an hour and a half long, which films these days are getting longer and longer and longer, which isn't always a bad thing, but when you're going to see a comedy film like this, it just being an hour and a half rather than being 2 hours plus was really nice. That's one of the things that I really enjoyed about it. I saw it in a completely full cinema and the whole audience was laughing the whole time. I feel like almost that they should have kind of paused for laugh points, like they do if you were seeing it on stage, because sometimes it was like, okay, we're on to the next joke now, and the audience is still being quite noisy and laughing. But I do recommend seeing this one in the cinemas because you will get that whole cinema laughing. Be prepared for, you know, very blue humour, obviously, but if you watch the trailer, you'll know what you're getting yourself in for. So there we have it. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if there is a particular movie you would like to hear my thoughts on. I'm always happy to go to the cinemas and watch something on demand and bring my thoughts here to you. Make sure you are subscribed so that my next video lands in your subscription feed. I will be back with some more bookish videos in the week and another movie reviews video this Sunday, because I am definitely seeing some more films this week. I already have tickets booked. I will have another book versus movie video for you coming up soon, so do make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that. And thank you for watching.